I copyrighted a booklet called The Original Meaning of the Parable of the Good Shepherd. This video is about the most important section of that booklet. The title of that section is John 11:51 and 52, the meaning of the parable of the Good Shepherd to the first readers. And I begin by saying, the other sheep in John 10 are the dispersed Jews or Israelites, not the Gentiles. John chapter 11 explains the parable soon after it was told in John 10. John 11:51 and 52 is the key to explain the parable. John 11:47 through 53 includes those two verses and reads, so we're first paying attention to the actual conversation among the chief priests. The chief priests therefore and the Pharisees gathered a council and said, "What do we? For this man doeth many signs. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans will come and take away both our place and our nation." But a certain one of them, Caiaphas, being high priest that year, said unto them, "Ye know nothing at all, nor do ye take account that it is expedient for you that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not." But I underlined here the part of this passage that is the explanation that ties in with the parable in chapter 10. "Now this he said not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus should die for the nation, and not for the nation only, but that he might also gather together into one the children of God that are scattered abroad. So from that day forth they took counsel that they might put him to death." The first three verses above report a conversation. Verses 51 through 52, which I underlined, was an unexpected interruption of the conversation by the evangelist, inspired by Holy Spirit, containing references to the parable of the Good Shepherd. The Bible often gives interpretations. For example, in John 2:19, American Standard Version, Jesus said, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." And all of these scriptural passages are from the American Standard Version, since it's public domain. The Jews answered in verse 20, 40 and 6 years was this temple in building, and wilt thou raise it up in 3 days? But verse 21 explains, but he spake of the temple of his body. The explanatory comment was added by the evangelist, and the reader was expected to believe his interpretation. Likewise, the reader should accept the interpretation of the parable that is implicit in John 11:51 through 52. It's astounding to me that people don't pay attention to it. God inspired Caiaphas's choice of words so that it had a double meaning. He and the council were unaware of the second prophetic meaning, so they took counsel that they might put him to death. Caiaphas convinced the council that Jesus had to be killed, otherwise the Romans would consider Jesus to be a rival king with many followers who would try to drive the Romans out of Judea. And then Roman armies would be sent to destroy the temple and kill or exile all the Jewish nation. So murdering Jesus would save the nation of Judea from destruction by the Romans. But the prophetic meaning of his words was that it was better for Jesus to die a sacrificial death that would result in the everlasting salvation of thousands of Jews than for all Jews to die in their sins. So the death of Jesus would lead to the salvation of many Jews after Jesus was resurrected and blessed them with Holy Spirit, as recorded in the first 8 chapters of Acts of the Apostles. And I mean there that the closest thing we have to a historical fulfillment of this was what Luke wrote in Acts 1 through 8, since John, or the author of the Gospel of John, did not write the historical fulfillment himself. The word scattered in verse 52 alludes to the scattered sheep of John 10. Compare it with John 10:12. John 10:12, which is in the parable, says, "And the wolf snatcheth them, and scattereth them." John 11:52, that he might also gather together into one the children of God that are scattered abroad. So that's in the John 11, the interpretation. The nation in verse 52 is the Jews. Compare verses 48 and 52. So John 11:48, which is in the conversation between the high priest and the council, it says, "And the Romans will come and take away both our place and our nation." John 11:52, "And not for the nation only." So I'm saying here that the nation is the Jews. That's who the Romans came and took away. The Romans actually did come and take away the temple and the Judeans, the Jews, but not the diaspora. The religious rulers at Jerusalem didn't regard the diaspora Jews as part of their nation. The idea of Jesus dying for the nation in verse 51 is an allusion to John 10:11, 15, 17, and 18. John 10:11 and 15, which is part of the parable, has all these phrases that are references to how the Good Shepherd would die for his people or his sheep. "The Good Shepherd layeth down his life for the sheep, and I lay down my life for the sheep. I lay down my life that I may take it up again. No one taketh it away from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again." John 11:51 through 52, the interpretation of the parable, says, "He prophesied that Jesus should die for the nation, and not for the nation only, but that he might also gather together into one the children of God that are scattered abroad." So this section, John 10:11 and 15, is referred to, the fact that the Good Shepherd would die is referred to here in John 11:51 through 52. But John 11:51 through 52 also has a reference to John 10:16. Verse 52 is an allusion to John 10:16, which says, "And other sheep I have which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and they shall become one flock, one shepherd." The first century reader noticed these allusions. After applying the interpretations of John 11 to the parable of the Good Shepherd, John 10:11 and 16 through 17 mean approximately the following. And I mean by this that this is what Jesus meant if he would have used simple prose and not figurative language. "Like a good shepherd, I will voluntarily die on behalf of the nation of Judea, and I will bring the diaspora from the countries where they are scattered in the same way that a shepherd calls his sheep, and they shall become united like one flock with the Judeans under one shepherd, me. And I'm going to die and be resurrected." The earliest readers of John thought that the diaspora were the dispersed or scattered Jews. The diaspora, the dispersed or scattered Jews, were the other sheep. The idea that the other sheep were Gentiles originates from a later time and from the influence of Acts of the Apostles. This is all I have time for in this video. If you accept this interpretation, then you read the Gospel of John, you'll read new meaning to why Jesus didn't spend much time with the Samaritans, and especially to why he wouldn't speak to the Greeks that wanted to speak to him at the festival. But this is the end of this video.